Handy Dan, de Toilette. The year was 2037, and the world had advanced beyond imagination. But even with all the technological advances, basic human needs remained the same. As Dan, the handyman, walked through the streets of his neighborhood, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He knew that he was one of the most important people in the community. After all, he was the one they all turned to when their plumbing broke down or their appliances stopped working. And as it turned out, his expertise was in high demand. He had spent years honing his craft, learning everything there was to know about plumbing, electrical work, and carpentry. And now, he was reaping the rewards. As he passed by his neighbors' homes, he saw firsthand just how much they relied on him. There was Mrs. Johnson, whose hot water heater had broken down, and Mr. Hernandez, whose toilet was clogged. And of course, there were the countless other little repairs and fixes that kept him busy day in and day out. The handyman's reputation had spread far beyond the neighborhood. People from all over the city were calling him, hoping he could come and fix their problems. And he was more than happy to oblige. After all, it was good for business. And so, when the toilet and the bathroom of an apartment on the 30th floor of a high-rise building malfunctioned, the residents had to resort to primitive methods. The apartment owner called in a handyman. The handyman arrived at the apartment with his toolkit in hand. He surveyed the situation and declared that the toilet had to be replaced. The residents groaned at the thought of a messy and complicated process. But the handyman assured them that he knew exactly what to do. And so, he began the process of removing the old toilet and installing the new one. Step 1. Turn off the water supply. The handyman reached behind the toilet and turned off the water supply. He then flushed the toilet to empty the tank and bowl. Step 2. Disconnect the water supply hose. Using pliers, the handyman gently twisted the nut that held the water supply hose in place and removed it from the toilet. Step 3. Remove the old toilet. The handyman unscrewed the bolts that held the toilet in place and lifted the toilet off the floor. He then scraped off any wax residue left on the flange. Step 4. Install the new wax ring. The handyman placed the new wax ring on the flange, making sure it was centered. Step 5. Install the new toilet. The handyman carefully lowered the new toilet onto the wax ring, making sure it was properly aligned with the bolts. He then tightened the bolts and nuts to secure the toilet in place. Step 6. Reconnect the water supply hose. The handyman reconnected the water supply hose to the toilet and tightened the nut with pliers. Step 7. Turn on the water supply. The handyman turned on the water supply and checked for any leaks. Tools required for the job: pliers, screwdriver, wrench, putty knife, wax ring, new toilet. The handyman stood back and admired his handiwork. The new toilet looked pristine and modern, a far cry from the old and outdated one it had replaced. The residents were impressed with the handyman's efficiency and expertise, and they thanked him for a job well done. With all the work he was doing, the handyman had become one of the richest people in the neighborhood. He had a beautiful home, a luxury car, and all the trappings of success. And yet, he knew that it was all because of his hard work and dedication to his craft. And as he left the apartment, the handyman couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. He knew that no matter how much the world changed, there would always be a need for people like him, people who knew how to fix things, people who could make a difference in the lives of others. And that, he knew, was worth more than any amount of money or material possessions. Peace.